are here in Miami for the 39th conference of CANTO. I hope you had a good evening last evening. I know you've looked at the agenda today and you may be a little nervous because you're saying, wow, it's a jam-packed agenda. That's how we do it at CANTO. We ensure that for the 3 days, it is 3 days well worth your time. So please give yourselves a round of applause. And as we do, we start the morning by acknowledging the persons who are here. The Honorable Philip Davis, Prime Minister of the Bahamas. Welcome, Prime Minister. Honorable Hayden Hughes, Minister of Infrastructure, Communications, Utilities, Housing and Tourism, Anguilla. Honorable Glynis Hannah Martin, Minister of Education, Technical and Vocational Training, the Bahamas. Honorable Marsha Caddell, Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology, Barbados. Honorable Michelle Shabat, Minister of Public Utilities and Logistics and E-Governance, Belize. Honorable Minister Rusandro Senja, yes, and we practiced all morning, Minister of Economic Development, Curacao. Thank you, Minister. Honorable Charles Cooper, Minister of Traffic, Transport and Urban Planning, Curacao. Honorable Shakira Lockhart Hippolyte, Minister of Public Works, Digital Economy, Public Utilities, Telecommunications and Broadcasting, Dominica. Honorable Samuel Joseph, Minister of Communication, Works, Labor and Energy, Montserrat. Honorable Urakit Ramsaran, Minister of Transport, Communications and Tourism, Suriname. Honorable Otis Chuck Morris, Minister of Home Affairs, Transportation, Broadcasting, Energy and Utilities, and the Telecoms Commission, Turks and Caicos. Mr. Mike Antonios, Chairman of CANTO. Dr. Del Rio Newman, Vice Chair of CANTO. The hardworking Board of Directors of CANTO. Secretary General of CANTO, Mrs. Teresa Wankin. Mrs. Inga Smith, Chief Executive Officer and Senior Executives of Cable and Wireless Communications and Liberty Latin America, or headline sponsors. Cable and Wireless, you can clap louder, or headline sponsors. Mr. Antonio Correa, Vice President, Senior RVP, Southern Europe, Caribbean, and Latin America for Brava. Mr. Dennis O'Brien, Chairman of Digicel Group and founder of Digicel Group. Mr. Jack Burke, Business Development Director, Bankai Group. I know you had your coffee. We're going to start again. Ms. Mignon Clyburn, former Commissioner of the Federal Communications Commission of the United States. Ms. Narda Jones, Chief of Staff, Federal Communications Commission of the United States. Mr. Steve Lang, Ambassador, International Information and Communications Policy, the U.S. Government. Mr. Kurt Hollingsworth, Consulate General, the Bahamas. His Excellency, Mr. Leon Williams, the Bahamas Ambassador to the International Telecommunications Union. Oh, Mr. Charles Carter, Chairman of iGovTT and former CANTO Director. Senior government officials, members of the Diplomatic Corps, specially invited guests, CANTO members, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, and all our family members around the world, good morning. I am Rochelle Cameron. I think I do enjoy salutations. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our Chief Executive Officer of Cable and Wireless Communications, Mrs. Inga Smith, who will be bringing our headline sponsors' comments.
Good morning, everybody. That's the whole list, so fantastic to see everybody is here. And I would like to start actually by saying all the people that are not here. And I know that if it wouldn't be for the past days and let's say things that happened in our region in the Caribbean, I'm 100% sure much more people would be here, whether that would be ministers, whether that would be our people. And I do want to take a moment of gratitude and of the people today that are restoring our islands, whether it is Grenada, whether it's St. Vincent, whether it's the smaller islands, Carriacou, La Petite Martinique, Union, Canaú, Jamaica, Cayman, Barbados. You know, I've been out there the last days, and it's been heartbreaking to see. And this could happen to anybody of us here in the Caribbean. It's part of who we are. It's part of what we are. We have to have that resiliency. But I do want to, you know, say a moment of gratitude and a big applause for all the people that today could not make it because of that, and because of the amazing job these people, also all our people out there, are working super, super hard. I can tell you, they're getting the networks back up. They're getting people back into community, into connecting. And I think it just is that whole piece which just shows how important it is today to talk to each other and to really make something happen. So thank you for everybody that's not here, that would listen in, and that is out there helping us get back on our feet. And believe me, we will also, as Cable and Wireless, we will be there, out there with there. We've seen every single Prime Minister in the last days, and we've seen our people out there. So gratitude for them, and we will be together with you standing. And as I talk today, I will talk to that, because that's the essence of who we are. That's the essence of how we do business in the Caribbean. So gratitude and thank you. Typically, when we internally within Cable and Wireless, we also often internally call ourselves Liberty Caribbean, because we're part of a bigger group, which is Liberty Latin America. We talk about 3 pillars. The first pillar being connectivity. We connect, we care, and we commit. Let me talk to each one of them. We connect. Over the past 6 years, Cable and Wireless, and with that Liberty Latin America, we've brought to the Caribbean gigabit-ready networks. And maybe I should say reconnect, because the reality is that whenever a hurricane will pass, we will reconnect our communities. We went from copper networks to fiber and HFC giga-ready networks. We went from 2G networks in mobile to advanced LTE-ready networks. By the end of this year, 2024, all our networks everywhere in the Caribbean will be GigaNet ready and will be LTE advanced, and in some of the markets we're already introducing 5G. It is that, on top of that network, we're building data centers, and also you will see in our booth here today, we have Liberty Caribbean ICT, which is really building off that connectivity solutions for the future. So within our pillar of connectivity, we've taken it very seriously as a company to really make sure that all our backbone, the backbone of that network to build the future digital transformation on, is ready to go. By the end of this year, we will be ready. Does that mean all our consumers will be on it? No, because we have to migrate the consumers to the new technology. But we will be ready, and we will be standing with each and single one of the countries in the Caribbean to go ahead towards the future. So that's our, and the reconnecting part comes, if a hurricane hits us, we go, we rebuild. The resilience is there, and that's also the commitment we've made today too, and in the last days when we were out there. Things like Carriacou, we will build it back up. Our second pillar, which is we care. We care about our people, we care about our communities, we care about our countries we operate in. Liberty Caribbean, we operate in 24 countries within the Caribbean. Each and single one of them, whether they're small, big, does not matter, they matter to us, and we take care of them. We take care in first instance of our employees. You know, whether it was COVID, we go and we kept everybody employed. Whether it is a hurricane, we go and we take care of our employees. We've put all our employees who are today impacted by the hurricane, we've either put them in hotels or we will put them into housing. We will rebuild their houses with them. That's the type of company we are. We take care of our communities. We've launched up and about 1.5 years ago a program, and you can visit our booth here, which is called JUMP, which is we want to connect the unconnected. And one of the things we've learned throughout the world is it's easy for us to just give the people the connectivity, but that doesn't work. What you have to do is you have to give them the connectivity, you have to give them a device, and you have to give them the training. And that's what JUMP is all about. And I really welcome every single partner here, but also every single government out here to make JUMP one of the most important things which we have to call out throughout the entire entity of the Caribbean. This has to be a program that really supersedes government, supersedes cable and wireless, but has to be something that is out there. We need to connect the unconnected for the future. Also in the We Care, we have a Cable and Wireless Foundation, and in the last days, we already with that Cable and Wireless Foundation, as Hurricane Beryl hit our Caribbean islands, we freed up funds, which typically would be in the first instance, we bring in, let's say, life goods, but we are also having a partnership with World Kitchen, where we really bring in the most affected areas. We bring in food for all the people. Also, and that, let's say, that foundation of the Caribbean Cable and Wireless Foundation is something that is very dear to our hearts. We built it 6 years ago, and it now is a strong foundation that helps us to take care. So that is the We Care. We care about our employees, we care about our countries we operate in, we care about our communities. Yes, we're there to build the networks, but we're there to do much more. And that is one of the examples of it. Last but not least, we commit. We commit to the partners we work with. And I think today already in some of the discussions we had previously to this audience, it is not just about us. It's about the partnerships we build with the governments and with partners out there that are, let's say, really serious about building the Caribbean to the next level. And it always has two foundations. One is we need to have the networks, we need to build the infrastructure, absolutely. And we will, and we've done. However, it's not good enough. We need partnerships, we need people wanting to work together. People wanting to go the extra mile and believe in each other and trust each other. It is that partnership that is going to bring, I am a big believer, going to bring us to that digital transformation. Together in this room alone, there's more than enough knowledge on infrastructure. There's more than enough knowledge on how to build networks. It is the true partnerships, if we really want to sit around the table, trust each other, that will make us jump to a different level in the next weeks and months to come. And that's what we, with Cable and Wireless, stand for. We really want to be the partners out there. Will we have sometimes moments where we disagree? Could be. But I think it's a true open foundation of thinking about how can we get education to a different level. We'll talk about it today. How can we get health to a different level altogether? How can we get hospitality in our Caribbean region to a different level? That are the things we should be talking about. How can we get data centers and make the Caribbean stand out? How do we digitally transform all our governments? We have the skills. It's just about wanting to do the partnership. So there's a big plea from me to all of, it's the people and the people in this room that will make that come to life and will make the difference. And Cable and Wireless will be there with you, and we will do it with a heart, like we've done everything in the last 5 to 6 years here in the region. To wrap it up, I want to say thank you to CANTO. I think it's an organization that brings people together, and it is that organization that really will bring us to the future. And I've given them my commitment that in this year, but also in the years to come, we will use this as a vehicle to really drive that partnership forward and to a different level. So we are here, Cable and Wireless is your partner. You know, we are here, we're serious about connecting the Caribbean. We're serious about doing that in a very caring way, which I always tell wherever I go, whomever I talk to, whether that is our people within Cable and Wireless, or that is governments, we do it with a heart. And everything we do, and certainly in the last days, we really take that heart first, and then we do all the rest. And then we do it in the right way. And we make a commitment to the Caribbean. We are very committed to the Caribbean. Every single country we operate in, hyper committed. And together in the partnerships with each and single one of you, we're going to bring that to a different level. So gratitude for being here, gratitude for being our partners already, and a big request to even drive that to an even more bigger level, because I think if we do it together, we can do fantastic things. So thank you. Now, it's my huge pleasure to introduce Prime Minister Davis from the Bahamas. Talking about partnerships, you know, I've gotten to know Prime Minister Davis a couple of years already, because I'm also the chair of the board. We operate, it's one of those countries where we truly deeply operate with the government. And it's not always easy. We now and then have our discussions. However, I've gotten to know Prime Minister Davis as a man of heart to then, and that is something which I absolutely find admirable. And so it's a huge pleasure for me to welcome you on stage, and that you're here to come and talk to us. Good. Thank you.
Morning. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, members and invited guests, good morning. Chairman Mike Antonius and Madam Secretary General Teresa Wankin, I want to thank you for your kind invitation to address this august body. Before my remarks, let's have a moment of solidarity. Over the past week, Hurricane Beryl's wrath on Grenada, Barbados, St. Vincent, the Windwards, and Jamaica is a stark reminder of the challenges we face in the Caribbean. The Bahamas remembers Dorian's fury all too well. Our hearts and prayers go out to our Caribbean brothers and sisters. May those affected find strength, and may the coming months be calmer than forecasts predict. You know, it feels like yesterday when I was here, urging CANTO to partner with the Bahamas on our digital journey in transitioning the economies of small island developing states to a new day. I want to congratulate CANTO on your 39th birthday. Looking back, it's time to celebrate CANTO's significant progress and the Bahamas' contributions. I should also announce that the Bahamas, on the 19th of August 2024, will be celebrating its Golden Jubilee anniversary as a member of the International Telecommunications Union. For the younger crowd, let me tell you, my first experience with CANTO was back in the day when a cell phone was a luxury and internet was dial-up. The Bahamas is a founding member of CANTO since 1985 and has been a key player in its success. We have actively participated on committees contributing to the organization's growth. Two Bahamians, Mr. Roscoe Davies and Mr. Leon Williams, served as treasurer. Back then, the CANTO bank accounts were resident at Citibank in the Bahamas. Two Bahamians also served as chairman, Mr. Robert Bartlett and, again, Leon Williams, now His Excellency Ambassador Leon Williams. He also served as vice chairman twice, and Ms. Deidre Pinder served as chairman of the Financial Advisory Committee. 39 years ago, the CT was established by treaty in Nassau. The Bahamas has since hosted numerous CANTO annual conferences and trade shows and other events. We also hold the record for Prime Minister speaking at CANTO's openings. It would seem as if our leaders have always understood the importance of staying connected. CANTO's mission in 1985 was shaping the future of telecoms and facilitating ICT solutions for the Caribbean. Today, they boast 110 members across 34 countries. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the reasons why CANTO should be celebrated. It champions for gigabit Caribbean by champions for a gigabit Caribbean by 2030. I got it right? Widespread connectivity, reliable performance, and fair rates for all. That's a vision worth striving for. We should all be able to download a movie in seconds, no matter where you are in the Caribbean. CANTO advocates for membership growth. The more the merrier, as they say. A wider network means more resources and a stronger voice for the region. The leaders in ICT collaboration, bringing regulators, NGOs, academia, and others together to explore cutting-edge technologies like AI for better customer experience. Imagine a future where chatbots answer your government service questions 24/7. Ladies and gentlemen, the global digital revolution spins the world, and it presents unique challenges for small island developing states like those in the Caribbean. When CANTO began, augmented reality, the metaverse, and artificial intelligence was science fiction. Competition was scarce, regulations minimal, and the internet, smartphones, and tablets were yet to come. Back then, it was about plain old telephone services, and even the cloud had a different meaning. The point? ICT is a world of acronyms, and understanding the language is crucial. Just like you wouldn't jump into a car without knowing how to drive, you can't navigate the digital world without basic knowledge. That's why skills development is so important. As we look forward toward the future, it's clear that technology is a powerful tool for progress and economic growth. However, the true potential of this tool can only be realized if our citizens are equipped with the knowledge and skills to use it effectively. The biggest missed opportunity we face is having advanced technology at our disposal, but lacking the widespread literacy to leverage it fully. Technology literacy is not just about knowing how to use a smartphone or a computer. It's about understanding the vast possibilities that digital tools and platforms offer. It's about being able to navigate the digital world confidently and creatively, whether for education, business, or daily life. This kind of literacy empowers individuals, drives innovation, and creates a more inclusive economy. In the Bahamas, we have seen firsthand the transformative power of digital platforms in government services and financial inclusion. However, to ensure that all citizens can benefit, we must prioritize education and training in digital skills. This means investing in programs that teach not only the basics, but also advanced competencies that can open up new opportunities for everyone. By promoting technology literacy across the Caribbean, we can ensure that our people are not left behind in this digital age. We can create a region where everyone has the tools and knowledge to thrive, driving both social and economic progress. Ladies and gentlemen, The Bahamas, like many small island developing states, recognizes the importance of digital transformation for national development and future survival. My government campaigned on a platform to digitize our 700 islands and the public services. Here's how it's going. Over 100,000 residents use our government's digital platform for tasks like license renewals, permit applications, public records requests, citizen services, and online forms. Imagine renewing your driver's license from the comfort of your couch. The Bahamas became a global e-money leader by launching the world's first central bank digital currency, the sand dollar, beating China's digital renminbi to the market. The Bahamas is the place for investments. We offer potential investors a peaceful and stable democratic environment with a strong commitment to the rule of law and relief from taxes on personal income, inheritance, capital gains, corporate income, and other taxes related to dividends and interest. While some folks boast of their country's 3 S's, that is, sea, sand, and sun, the Bahamas boasts of 4 S's, that is, sea, sand, sun, and security. We are speeding down the technological highway with limited insurance, limited infrastructure, digital skill gaps, device affordability, and cybersecurity threats are challenges we all face. It's like driving a car on a bumpy road with limited visibility. We need to work together to improve the road conditions and equip ourselves with the skills to navigate safely. As we stand on the brink of a future defined by artificial intelligence, it's essential to recognize both its potential and its risks. We should not fear a future with AI. Rather, we should fear a future where AI operates without global standards and regulations. The unchecked growth of AI could lead to significant challenges, including ethical dilemmas, privacy violations, and unintended consequences. It's crucial, therefore, that we establish robust global standards and regulatory frameworks to govern the development and deployment of AI. By doing so, we can ensure that AI serves humanity in a safe, ethical, and beneficial manner. We must tame this technological bull before it's too late, guiding its power to enhance our lives while mitigating its risks. Moreover, we can leverage technology itself to detect and prevent abuses that come with rapid advancements. Using AI and other digital tools, we can create systems that monitor, report, and address issues such as data breaches, misuse of personal information, and biased algorithms. By doing this, we can foster a more secure and trustworthy technological environment. In our pursuit of progress, let us remember that with great power comes great responsibility. We must act collectively to shape a future where AI and other technologies are aligned with our values and social goals, agendas, ensuring a safer and more equitable world for all. So, my friends, the question isn't where to go. It's how fast we can get there together. We cannot afford to be passengers in the digital revolution, clinging to the past. We must be the architects of our future, embracing innovation with open arms. Let us not allow fear and misinformation to hold us back. Disinformation thrives in the dark corners of the internet. Let us shine a bright light of education and critical thinking to dispel the shadows. More importantly, let us not leave anyone behind. The digital divide must not become a chasm. We need to equip everyone with the skills and resources to participate in this new world. And so, In the Bahamas, for example, we are taking action. Our National Vision 2030 shall include a more comprehensive digital transformation roadmap, ensuring that the best services reach all Bahamians, regardless of location or economic status. We will actively participate and shape decisions on the global stage that affect our digital future. We recognize the global cybersecurity talent gap of more than 2.5 million unfulfilled cybersecurity jobs worldwide. The Bahamas will help bridge that gap, fostering a new generation of tech security professionals. We will leverage our human resources to the fullest. Limited resources won't hold us back from innovation. As we advance further into this digital era, it's crucial to remind ourselves of the core purpose behind our technological pursuits. It's easy to get swept up in the excitement of corporate achievements and revenue milestones, but we must not lose sight of the human element that drives our efforts in technology. Technology is not merely a tool for economic growth, it is a powerful catalyst for social change. Our focus should be on how these innovations can enhance the quality of life for our citizens, bridging gaps and opening opportunities that were previously unimaginable. Consider the digital platforms that enable residents to access government services from their homes, saving time and increasing efficiency. Think about the Sand Dollar, our CBDC, which has brought financial inclusion to even the most remote islands of our archipelago. These advancements are not just about technological prowess, they are about improving lives, fostering inclusivity, and creating a more equitable society. In our quest for progress, we must resist the temptation to focus solely on the revenue and balance sheets. While financial health is important, underinvestment in technology to keep capital up should not come at the expense of social progress. Instead, let us channel our innovations toward making a meaningful impact on our communities, prioritizing human development over corporate profits. By focusing on the social impact of technology, we can build a future where progress is measured, not just in economic terms, but in the well-being and empowerment of our people. This is the true essence of a sustainable digital transformation, one that places humanity at its core. This isn't just about the Bahamas, it's about the entire Caribbean. I commend the tireless efforts of my ambassador, Leon Williams, and CEO Carlton Smith, who are leading the charge on a number of ICT initiatives in the Bahamas, which I fully endorse for the benefit of Caribbean countries as well. For example, child online protection, boosting innovation and decent jobs for youths, and the creation of a regional digital skills center at the University of the Bahamas. These initiatives are crucial for a thriving Caribbean digital economy. We invite you to partner with them and the ITU. I also want to thank Mr. Cleveland Thomas of the ITU, who is present with Mr. Rodney Taylor of the CTU, as regional leaders in the ICT sector, for their tireless efforts to harmonize the regional ICT agenda. Madam Secretary General, echoing Abraham Lincoln's words, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Let's work together, not just as nations, but as a Caribbean family, to leverage digital innovation for a brighter future for all our people. The Caribbean is our home. Let's fight for its digital prosperity. I'm confident you, Madam SG and CANTO Board, and your members can be relied upon to help steer the course to make our region prosperous. CANTO has the golden opportunity to do for the Caribbean what politics has been able to do. Quite a confession, eh? The words of your CANTO anthem offer exactly the kind of inspiration that's needed. And I repeat it. Let's unite our voices in one Caribbean song. Let's face the world together. Give strength to one another. Let's take our places in a world of change, right where we belong. Once again, my congratulations to CANTO and happy 39th birthday. May God bless the people of the Caribbean, may CANTO continue its vital work. Thank you, and would you have a productive remainder of your conference. Thank you.
CANTO folk have moved from the shoulder shake to the full body shake. The John Cooner group from the Bahamas. And please, allow me to welcome back to the stage the Honorable Philip Davis, also known as the Brave One, to make a very special announcement. Please welcome back the Honorable Philip Davis.
Thank you very much. Well, you all had a taste of what you may expect as we host the next CANTO 2025 meeting in wonderful tranquil city of Nassau, Bahamas. We look forward to seeing each and every one of you there to experience our hospitality, to experience why they say it's always better in the Bahamas.
Wow, CANTO 2025 is going to be, as we say in Jamaica, one piece of excitement. So. If this is your first time at CANTO, please let me see your hand. And I know this will not be your last. You didn't know what to expect. This morning you came down outside, was a little bleaky, and you're now fully awake. Please, we have to give the Honorable Philip Davis another round of applause for bringing energy and excitement on this, our day one of CANTO. As he has said it, the question is not to ask where we're going, but how fast we're going to get there together. As usual, the Prime Minister brought with him an engaging presentation. We were all just spellbound, and he didn't end with that. He ended with a carnival extravaganza. I know tickets are being booked as we speak because it's always better in the Bahamas. Again, I'd just like to thank Mrs. Inga Smith for bringing our words from our headline sponsor, Cable and Wireless, always caring and connecting the region. And this morning, we again thank the hard work of all our telecoms providers in keeping us seamlessly connected through these times. At this time, we're going to move straight into our CEO's forum, where we'll hear the CEO's perspective in an ever-changing landscape of technology and innovation. And I have the pleasure of moderating a group of CEOs. Please help me welcome to the stage Mr. Franklin Butler, CEO, Cable Bahamas. Mr. Brad Martin, Chief Executive Officer of ATN. And Mr. Mike Antonios, Chairman of CANTO and CEO of Telesur. But I'd also like us to applaud Susanna O'Sullivan, who is Vice President of North Caribbean Cable and Wireless Communication, who should have joined us this morning, but she is in Cayman assisting with the recovery efforts. So please let's just acknowledge Susanna O'Sullivan, or CEO out of the Cayman. Gentlemen, you may take your seats. Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Morning.
Yeah, I was just trying to alert for the mic. Thank you. Franklin.
Yes.
I did mention that our chairman is very dynamic and helpful.
Might be stuck.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Good.
So as you can see at CANTO, everyone plays different roles and jumps in where necessary. So gentlemen, this morning we are going to be talking about the ever-changing landscape. You are CEOs of your organizations, and many of us, aspire to have those roles until we get into those roles and realize what comes with it. So I'd actually like us to start with you telling us a little bit about the operations of the entities that you run, so that the CANTO group can be introduced to your organizations, those who don't know. So let's start with you, Franklin.
Thank you, Rochelle. I'm KO Bahamas CEO. We are the leading telecommunications provider in the Bahamas. Our focus is being the leader enabling connected lifestyles and experiences. And as we think about the CANTO conference and sustainability, obviously the Prime Minister spoke about our experiences in Dorian and the importance for network resiliency, the importance of developing human capital. That's been the forefront of what we do. We are a standalone organization. We don't have to report to anybody else or to allow the governance of many of the issues that face telecommunications to be delegated beyond our borders. So we invest heavily in human capital and making sure that we have the capacity to weather the storms of life, and particularly in telecommunications. And we see us as an essential service, even more so than power and water these days, because people really want to be connected in the moments that matter.
Thank you very much, Franklin. Sometimes it feels really a little more important than power and water.
Yeah.
Well, I lost power and water recently, and I found out they're very important. But internet is life. Data is oxygen.
Absolutely.
Brad, over to you.
Good morning, and welcome, and thank you. So I am Brad Martin. I'm the CEO of ATN International. We operate throughout Caribbean markets in Bermuda, as well as some of the rural markets in the U.S., the southwestern states and Alaska. The theme of CANTO, very, very pertinent. So sustainable digital economy, sustaining connectivity to the areas that we serve and operate, making sure that enables people, enables businesses is core to our strategy in all the markets that we operate. We operate services that enable business, enable people to connect, to live, to be able to live in that modern, connected world. And that's very, very important. The infrastructure that we provide and the services that are enabled by the governments that we partner with are mission critical. And this forum is a great way to collaborate and align our collective interest to better the needs across the business.
Thank you, Brad. Over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Rochelle. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Antonius. I am the CEO of Telesur in Suriname, and I am leading the digital transformation within my company. And I like also to say within Suriname, under the team that I'm very focused on securing the digital future of my country.
Thank you, Mike. So, Franklin, from your perspective, you are very much of your business is about digital transformation. We hear that in every business strategy, but the technology is moving so quickly. As the Prime Minister mentioned earlier, we're moving from dial-up data. Now, everywhere we go, we expect to have internet connectivity. How do you keep up with the technology advancements and balance that with just your business operations?
That's a great question. I mean, I note the Prime Minister's view, and this is one of the things I think we stand alone as a standalone operators. We see ourselves as a partner with the government and the people of the Bahamas. Our shareholding is such that the government owns 50% of our Mobile Alive division, and they are shareholders as well in our core business. And so one of the things that we continue to try to do is to think about what is, how the Bahamas is positioning itself. Obviously, I think everybody knows, or if you haven't known, you will soon know as you come to CANTO 2025, the beauty of the Bahamas, and really that tourism is really our business. And the reality is we are a premium tourism destination, and so with premium tourism destinations, we have to have premium connectivity. And so for us, we are always thinking about how we're investing, whether that's a roadmap for 5G, what does it look like for AI, what does it look like for cybersecurity. And one of the things I think all of us in the Caribbean have to think about is cybersecurity, in my mind, is much more about national security. And we cannot, in my view, dedicate or subjugate our responsibility to cybersecurity to the Americans or to the Chinese. And so we often have to think about, as Caribbean nations, what are we doing, how are we thinking about cybersecurity? And so a lot of where we've been investing, I mean, we just had one of our colleagues who completed a CISO. We invested in another colleague who went off to Spain to do AI and digital transformation. And so we continue to find, high potentials and invest in them to help us think about how do we, as a country, and I dare say I'm the self-appointed private sector member of our CERT. And I said, because as the government thought about, its cyber incident report team, really we have to think about how businesses, and I try to leverage my role in the business community to make sure that all businesses are thinking about cyber incident reporting and leveraging that. And that has already paid dividends on a board that I sit on, which recently had a cyber incident. So we try to think about it from a business perspective and recognize that, listen, the investment today may not necessarily make sense, but I can tell you when you have a ransomware attack or any type of cyber event, then you say, aha, we should have made the investment. And so we think about it in terms of the long term and not just capital and ROIs today.
Thank you for that, Franklin. So, Brad, Franklin has touched on the matters that we are now facing. Cybersecurity, AI is very real. So we've moved from the plain old telephone system. I remember when I joined Cable and Wireless and they talked about pots. I was like, where are the pans? But we've certainly moved so far from there. And as you are planning, you have to be thinking about artificial intelligence. You have to be thinking about cybersecurity. Your organization serves various territories. How do you keep that culture of innovation alive, paying attention to what these technological trends are, and also infusing that energy in your team?
Yeah, and it's a really important point because the technologies are everywhere. And by the way, we all employ very smart people. So it's important that all of your businesses, your government agencies, that we're intentional on how we think and plan around tools like AI. And to Franklin's point, the importance around securing that data. There are tools you can put your data into that may not be as secure as you think. So to be intentional around it and to inspire people to bring ideas to the table. So an idea we put across our companies in the last year was to put together a Tiger team. We did a survey across all of our markets to say, what are the use cases we can think through as a team to collectively put together the best value for our customers, best value for our employees. So we harnessed those ideas, put a Tiger team together, and made sure we did it in a structured way that was secure as well. And that, almost some of our most innovative ideas came from a lot of our deeply engaged employees. They're very passionate about those opportunities to bring that solution to the table. That's the best way you can harness the power, is to leverage your people to bring those ideas to the table. Also important, listen to your vendors. We all have made lots of investments. They will think through a lot of those technologies. They'll think through the security dynamics. Instead of just jumping to the latest trend, listen to your vendors you have. They're making progress, and they will bring you some really important ideas of how it may best integrate with your team and your current operation.
Yes. So Brad, because the leveraging the people, because our people are everything. And we have several of our vendors here as a part of our exhibition. And as I move to Mike, we've talked about cybersecurity. We understand the influence of AI, but we've also just been going through hurricanes, and we've had unprecedented hurricanes now in July, when we should be relaxing. As CEO in Suriname, and you're thinking about all of these vagaries that are happening, the natural disaster planning becomes also very important. How is your organization planning for the future, and what responsibilities do you think telecoms operators have to contribute to ensuring that we are taking care of this environment and climate change?
Okay, I'm going to try to answer your question in two ways. It is a little bit uneasy for me to say that we are lucky that we do not have those disasters. And it is very uneasy for me. Fortunately for us, we are below the hurricane belt. So we do not encounter such challenges for now. But we all know climate is changing.
Absolutely.
So for now, for instance, we have rolled out fiber. All our fiber is in poles, all our fiber. We rolled out fiber throughout from the east to the west, going very far south. We're now rolling out fiber in the last part of the capital, which will mean that by the end of this year, we will have fiber to the home in the whole country. Everywhere where there are homes, we will have fiber to the home. Another thing is we also rolled out 5G, but one big challenge we have is that the challenge with handset providers. Now we have a service going on, a 5G service, and our customers cannot make maximum use of that. So to come to the second part of the question, we still need to take into consideration what if the climate keeps on changing in such a way? What will happen to all the investments which we have now in the poles, you know? And it also comes in mind that, for instance, my friendly competitor in Suriname is also planning to roll out fiber, and they're also trying to get into the poles. Isn't it time that we start thinking of how can we invest smarter? Because we keep saying, for instance, rolling out fiber and putting it in the poles is cheaper than putting it in the ground. But it will become more expensive if there are weather conditions that will enforce us in the near future to put it in the ground. As a discussion I had with Director Dupersoy, who, because of the hurricane strikes they had in St. Martin, they started putting it in the ground. So maybe we should reconsider how we are doing our investments, and to make sure that we get a certain reliability when it comes to these type of situations.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mike, because we're certainly feeling the pressures of that. Much of our telecoms infrastructure in Jamaica is underground, so it was able to withstand, but the climate change is real. We recently had a massive earthquake, so everything is happening at once. And while this is happening, we are saying our theme is towards a sustainable digital economy, because everything has gone digital, everything is going digital. Franklin, from where you sit, and I'm going to ask each of you gentlemen to tell us a little bit about what your organizations are doing towards that sustainable digital economy.
Yep. For us, this has been a long journey. One of the things of climate change and sustainability is we are unfortunately not the makers of our own destiny. We often, our impact on the climate is very minimal in the Caribbean. Notwithstanding that, at CANTO Bahamas, we started a journey, I don't know, must be 8 or 10 years ago, where we looked towards just using more and more electrical vehicles. In fact, the most recent statistic we have is 25% of our fleet are electric. As we continue to think about generators and resiliency to our network, we are more and more exploring the opportunity to put solar powered generators to make sure that we can minimize our impact to the global footprint and see how we can help the environment. And so we continue to think through as many of the options as we can to really drive a sustainable future. We work a lot with our vendors as well, who are more and more looking at power consumption. I think power is an issue for the Caribbean as a whole. And how do we look at diversifying our power production, or minimizing our power production, or more efficiently use power production to drive? And fiber to the home for us is very much a part of that strategy. So in the Bahamas, for New Providence, we will complete fiber rollout to all of New Providence and New Providence Island, and we've done Abaco after Dorian as well. And so more and more we can put fiber in the ground, we think that helps us to minimize our impact to the environment and the use of power, and in our case, not so clean power. But I see the government and the Prime Minister in his most recent budget communication is even looking at power and how do we really provide more sustainability to our power grid as well. So, you know, the Bahamas is well positioned, I think, on the sustainability front. And I think everybody knows the Prime Minister, next to Mia Motley, has been a huge advocate for sustainability in the Caribbean. So,
Thank you, Franklin. Over to you, Brad.
So it's an important dynamic for any telecommunications company is to promote and drive sustainable lifestyle, sustainable business operations. Partnerships with the local governments that we operate with is mission critical to that. So that really tight partnership, whether it be investing in solar performance, investing in technologies that enable better fuel consumption, a dynamic that we're all going through right now is the managing and handling of technical debt. Technical debt is our legacy copper power-intensive networks. It could be our legacy heavy old servers that we use. These are all very power consumptive, and part of the way we can leverage new technologies is to retire that debt, retire those legacy networks to promote and leverage those more cost-efficient networks today. And new technologies enable that. Fiber, 5G enable better power profile consumption of the businesses that we run. Very, very important. The operations that we run, also very important. We can enable technologies that can enable better fuel consumption, not only within our operations, but within the communities that we serve. And you have to be intentional. You have to plan, message those dynamics, show your business partners and customers that that's a service you can help enable through IoT solutions and beyond. So it's important that you're intentional. It's important that you plan and think through how do you manage around power consumption, enable your customers to that. But a lot of it is around technical debt. How can we manage and work with local governments to ensure that those legacy, very, very energy consumptive old technologies we can retire to move people on to the newer and the better.
Okay. Thank you for that, Brad. Mike.
Well,
the question is, how does your organization view towards a digital sustainable economy?
Well, first of all, it starts with the foundation for us. We looked at our network and we saw that our network wasn't digital proof. So we are the incumbent, so a lot of legacy infrastructure within the network. So we phased out all the legacy. We're still phasing out because it is not an easy job to phase out legacy out of your network. So that is the first part, and then designing it to become future-proof, definitely. So having done that part, on also working on the access part, you mentioned copper. We saw that in certain areas we didn't even have copper. We have paper load, and we say paper load in Dutch, but it was a step before copper, wow, which we had in the network. So all those things needed to be phased out for us to be able to, for instance, roll out fiber. And then we had FTTC, which was the last mile still copper, or the thing I just mentioned. So also that we're phasing out right now just to offer fiber to the home. Why I mentioned that part? If we want to offer digital sustainable services, fiber is the future. There is no discussion about that. So that is for us the only choice, and we have been rolling out that. But the second thing is, when you set that foundation, you must work on, okay, how can you better manage your services? How can you better improve the customer journey, the customer experience? And so therefore, we focused a lot on having a new OSS BSS to simplify things for our customers, creating the possibility for customers to be served online so they can do it from home, from their couch. And another thing is, we are very much focused now on offering TV over fiber, because if you have fiber there, it is not just to send emails or stream on YouTube, but there are other possibilities and opportunities. But for us to be confident enough to offer TV services over fiber, we're setting up a service operating center. The reason for it is, I don't want no customer to call me while I'm watching the Champions League final and there is a service interruption.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know? So to be able to offer those type of services, we must change the way how we must become more predictive in the service we deliver. So we must be able to identify when there is a decrease of service quality. We must be able to see it in advance. Hey, there may be a service interruption in that area, then optimization is required. So we're setting all that up now, and I'm very proud to announce that by the first quarter next year, our service operating center will be operational.
Okay, thank you. Mike, and which team do you support in the Champions League?
Excuse me?
Which team do you support in the Champions League?
There's no question. You already know the answer. We have 15.
So gentlemen, as we wrap up this panel, we are now facing a time where we have 5 generations in the workplace. We have the most educated workforce that we've had in history. And as we're thinking about rolling out fiber, resilience, etc., I'm just going to give each of you 30 seconds to say, for your people, what are the things that you are thinking of the future to keep your team engaged and to ensure that you're harnessing the best talent? I'll start with you, Franklin.
Listen, it's the most exciting time to be a CEO when you have 5 generations in the workforce. My comments on AI is simply this. AI won't replace your job. A person using AI will. And so that's our philosophy. So our focus is how do we educate, connect, train as many of our people to use AI and think efficiently around all of our business processes. It's just not a network thing. It's around CX. It's around all areas of our business. And I've been personally leading the charge in making sure that young people, older people engage in this whole process of transformation around AI. Same thing on cybersecurity. You know, I know a lot of our guys have been technical engineers, are focused on how they get into cybersecurity and thinking about national security. And this is all about payment flags. This is the future of what it's going to mean for our country and the regions, because as we think about what's happening with AI, there is a probability that the large data streams and processing will take away our uniqueness if we're not careful, and there's this whole concept of bias. And so this is an opportunity for us to not let our fear get in the way, but really to thrive and to use our spirit of dominance, really, and our, you know, I say small axe cuts big trees. This is our opportunity in the Caribbean to really engage in these new technologies. And so I just want to close and simply say we want to invite everybody in the room. CAO Bahamas will be hosting in November our first cybersecurity conference in Nassau. And so we'll be having lots of great people. We have the former acting cybersecurity director, who is a Bahamian, coming down to be a part of that. And so we really want to encourage as many of you to participate in that. This is really what we think leadership looks like. And this is why we're excited about having 5 generations in the workforce.
Thank you, Franklin. Brad?
Echo Franklin's comments. It is an exciting time to be a leader in a dynamic environment where you have multiple generations, multiple technologies. Any technology change, it's really people change. So it's managing behaviors. And the most important thing when you're managing people change is communication. And leaders owe it to their teams, their people, to really communicate, be intentional on how these technologies will shift and change what they do, not necessarily their roles, but what it will help enable in their roles. And very, very important. The stress around security is something that's very important. And when you have your teams aligned to how your technology is going to enable their consumers, their enterprise customers, because these are their neighbors. These are the stores and the businesses that they work with and participate with every single day of their lives. This is important, that they can help be a shepherd and a steward of our technologies into the communities. And we found it to be a very effective way to enable and motivate our teams to really help bring those technologies. And we do it through our business division, Brava. We do it through our local brands in our markets that we operate. And again, whether it be in the Caribbean or it be in the rural U.S. markets, we find the same needs. Our employees want to help enable the communities that we serve because they are the community that we serve. And if you can tie that to the way they manage with their coworkers, the way they manage their community. We find that very empowering, and we find that's something that motivates the teams towards that end objective, but again, needs to be intentional, need to communicate very well across the organization.
Thank you, Brad. And you have the final word, Mike.
Yes, I'm very honored that I can captain my team in this stage of digital transformation. And it is so an important part in the sense that Brad just mentioned it. It's a lot of managing mindsets as well. Managing mindsets in the sense that sometimes when we as a board of directors come up with some things we want to implement, we need to think of different ways not to get resistance because of something may be a little bit, strange to them. So we're really managing that part and to get people on board and get them towards the implementations that are required related to digital transformation. And imagine that in the near future, we will not be talking more about digital transformation because then we have been transformed already. So I'm very proud that I'm in the position to manage this stage. And I'm looking definitely forward to how we together, not only within my company, but together as a region, how we can transform our region towards, for instance, what I mentioned last night, to a gigabit society, because our mission must be to focus a lot on eliminating the digital divide.
Thank you very much, Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause for our panelists this morning, Franklin Butler, CEO of Cable Bahamas. We're looking forward to that conference in November.
Yes.
Brad Martin, Chief Executive Officer, ATN, you reminded us about being intentional in our leadership. Thank you very much, Brad Martin, ATN. And Mike Antonio, CEO of Telesur, managing those mindsets. Ensuring, because there will be a time that we're not speaking of digital transformation, we would have been transformed, but there'll be something else for us to discuss.
Yes.
So ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for our CEOs discussing the CEO's perspective in an ever-changing landscape of technology and innovation. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you.
And as our CEOs exit the stage, at this time I'd like to welcome our round table participants. You can exit from this side of the stage. I'm scared to move it, but you chairman, you move it, I think. No, because we are going to have a presentation, a keynote presentation in this segment. And you can know that our CEOs are hard at work. Thank you very much. Our next session is a round table, and it is digital sustainability and education. This roundtable will be led by the Honorable Glenys Hannah Martin, Minister of Education, Technical and Vocational Training from the Bahamas Ministry of Education. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for the Honorable Glenys Hannah Martin.
Let's give a round of applause for this delightful moderator. Hardworking from last night. Please allow me to adopt the very extensive protocol that she established and simply to say to all here gathered, good morning. It is an honor to be here today at CANTO's 39th Annual Conference and Trade Exhibition. This year's theme, Towards a Sustainable Digital Economy, resonates deeply with our shared vision for innovation, collaboration, and sustainability within the ICT sector. I thank you for this opportunity to share some brief thoughts on ICT in education and in the Bahamas in particular. One of the primary objectives of ours, and indeed any educational system at its most basic level, is to equip students and young people with the fundamental skills to allow them to function in a social and economic setting. Of course, we seek to do much more than reinforce the fundamentals, because education is the critical vehicle for national development. And through an enlightened curriculum and focused efforts, these fundamental skills form the building blocks to a higher learning and to produce skilled, innovative, creative, ethical, and confident beings and leaders. One of the pillars of the fundamental or foundational skill sets is literacy. And much time and energy and resources are expended to ensure that our children are at base literate. But the social and economic evolutions and indeed revolutions of our time have caused educators and policymakers to understand that the previously limited definition and meaning of literacy of yesteryear today falls short of a 21st century reality. New concepts of literacy have overtaken, and unless these new areas are engendered in policy and into the curriculum in the preparation of our young people, they will be severely disadvantaged and left behind. This therefore has implications to the future prospects and positive viability of an entire people and a nation, and indeed our region. This is not an option. At the UNESCO June 2003 expert meeting in Paris, there was consensus that literacy is defined as, and I quote, the ability to identify, this is literacy, to identify, understand, interpret, create, communicate, compute, and use printed and written materials associated with varying contexts. And it further states, literacy involves a continuum of learning in enabling individuals to achieve their goals, to develop their knowledge and potential, and to participate fully in their community and wider society, end quote. Digital literacy is thus incorporated into this definition of literacy, and indeed is described as a life skill, because it is infused in all areas of contemporary existence and living, in professions, in business, in our private lives, in research, in specialized knowledge, and in the huge ICT market in a variety of other areas. In short, digital literacy is an interface to what is now a pervasive reality. Digital literacy must therefore be fully embraced as a foundational skill in the expanded understanding of literacy if our young people are to successfully navigate this reality and excel. Education, therefore, is a key pillar in building sustainable digital economy. But the importance of digital literacy in our schools is not to be seen simply as a basic learning for users, but must be seen as an integrated tool in all learning and in all subject areas. Research has shown that use of this technology in a variety of subject areas as an integrated tool has yielded positive and improved learning and academic and performance outcomes and improves student motivation. It also increases and expands access of students and teachers to a huge reservoir of materials and resources for learning, including resources available in digital repositories. The Bahamas Department of Education is developing its own Learning Well, which is a repository of digital educational resources comprised of open educational resources. These resources are available for synchronous and asynchronous sessions in our learning management system. The shift to students now having access to e-books and other interactive digital learning tools not only allows for education to continue beyond the walls of the classroom, but also reduces the financial burden on families and aligns education with the evolving digital landscape, preparing students for a future where information is just a click away. It is thus transforming and enhancing access and promoting equity through online learning platforms and digital resources. Full realization of digital literacy in any educational system is multifaceted, requiring 1, technology for the facilitation, 2, curriculum reform for instruction and integration for student learning, And 3, skilled teachers in the use of and in the teaching of this technology and in its integrated use in general. The training of teachers, therefore, is an imperative to the facilitation of digital literacy. In an effort to accelerate this process, we in the Bahamas have partnered with ITU for technical support to train our teachers beginning this summer, and as a sustained and continuous offering in our professional development going forward. Technological capacity is key to effectively delivering education, but it is a cost-intensive exercise on all fronts. As you know, we are an archipelagic state, the Bahamas, and we face many unique challenges in a number of areas, including keeping our commitment to providing equitable access to education across many islands and keys. In some instances, island communities with student populations of less than 10 children. Technology has helped us to bridge the geographical divide and deliver quality, equitable, and inclusive educational services. This has been made possible primarily by a strategic infrastructural project at a cost of some $25 million, and now in its final phase, which is making Wi-Fi ready every one of our more than 170 schools. This strategic investment, plus the development of the Bahamas Education and Learning Management System, the BELMS, ensures the continuity of education during devastating and disastrous backdrops, including most recently the closure of schools associated with the coronavirus pandemic in 2020. I dare say the Bahamas has emerged as a regional leader in digital national learning and educational management systems, with other countries now looking closely at our solutions and technical models, and we are very proud of that. This BELMS is an integrated system combining an EMIS and LMS, which has adapted, evolved, and expanded in functionality, and has proven to be an invaluable tool for data collection and policy making, for efficiency in delivery and tracking of critical markers, and tighter synchronization between the more than 170 schools and tens of thousands of stakeholders. The Bahamas Ministry of Education is also now in discussion with industry stakeholders for the comprehensive acquisition of technology for classrooms nationwide to facilitate this digital literacy transformation for both students and teachers. The significant financial investments made already in this area signals the priority we place on sustainability. It also demonstrates an understanding that in this digital reality, the most important component are our young people, who have the capabilities and the potentiality of competing with anyone, anywhere, and must be equipped to do so. In light of the ongoing challenges we face in the Caribbean region, brought on by weather phenomena as a consequence of climate change, it is vitally important that we are able to adapt, pivot, and assure sustainability and continuity in the worst of circumstances. This is our new normal. Having regard to the immense and almost limitless opportunities that are unleashed through this technology, and having regard to its centrality in our social and economic reality, and globally, and in particular for countries such as ours, developing economies, the closing of the digital divide is critical to ensure equity amongst all of our people, and to ensure that we in this region are globally competitive. In this, we must be focused and intentional, prepared to make the necessary investments, and understand that the genesis of this effort is to be found within our educational systems. These objectives are more effectively and efficiently reached through collaborations and partnerships. These partnerships and collaborations must be synergistic with the overarching goals that we all subscribe to for collective progress. One such partnership now underway is between the Bahamas government and the Ministry of Education and the Bahamas Telecommunications Company Limited, BTC, titled the JUMP program, which I know is happening in other parts of the region. It's a regional initiative to provide internet access to those most in need. This collaboration will empower students from low-income households to overcome barriers and realize an improved quality of life. Through the first phase of JUMP, which is 2 years, 5,000 families will receive subsidized internet services, with BTC and the government covering a portion of the monthly subscription fees, while families pay a nominal monthly fee. Through its partnership with Dell, BTC will provide, without cost, new Dell laptop computers to each family, along with a comprehensive 8-week digital skills training program. The training will cover not only the child, but the entire family, teaching them how to use programs including the Microsoft Office suite, how to access and utilize online government services, and how to access and follow their child's progress with the Ministry of Education. When the 2024-2025 school year begins, JUMP will be in full effect, empowering thousands of households with affordable internet access, free devices, and free digital literacy skills. And as I reach the conclusion, our journey towards a sustainable digital economy requires a collective effort to innovate, collaborate, and adopt sustainable practices, to be resilient and even courageous, in spite of and despite the challenges we face in this region. The constituency of thousands and thousands of young people on campuses at schools throughout our region is the promising space that, with deliberate and targeted policy, the investment of necessary resources will shift the paradigm in our region. I listened last night to the speech from Chairman Antonius and his allusions to the many forces which impede our full progress in this sector and in this region. And I agree with the Minister Vaz of Jamaica that the time is now for action. But I assert this morning that the greatest asset in our arsenal is our young people. Not the fiber, the young people. We need the fiber. They are our future. They are the innovators, the creators. They will bust through any barrier that seeks to impede their advance. In this regard, and as a case in point, I would wish to acknowledge and congratulate a young man, our very own Bahamian student. His name is Rio Gay. Rio, are you here? Rio recently received one of the highest honors in the Miami-Dade and Broward County area, the Silver Knight Award, which is given to the best and brightest students. Woo! That's our little Bahamian boy. He attended Western High School in Davie, having attained a GPA of 5.26. He will be attending the Florida State University, where he will study computer engineering, and his mother is also here. We have to give her some credit. Can you stand, Mommy? I know where she is, right there. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. This pursuit is not without challenges, and it is important that we in the region are in front of emerging complex phenomena, such as artificial intelligence, which we've heard many of us don't really fully understand, through legislation and policy frameworks, so as to simultaneously harness while providing the necessary protections. Let us commit to continuous learning, sharing of knowledge, and working together to achieve our shared vision. Together, we can build a vibrant digital economy that benefits all and stands resilient in the face of any challenge and allows our children to stand tall and strong in the face of any adversity. This is our mission, and it cannot and must not be undermined or compromised. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Are you going to be?
No, the director is going to.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Glenys Hannah Martin, Minister of Education, Technical and Vocational Training, Bahamas Ministry of Education. She is certainly the inimitable leader. We thank her for a very engaging presentation. As she says, the young people are the force to be reckoned with. Congratulations, Rio. And I know Rio has already downloaded the CANTO app because he's a young person, as have I, because I'm a young person too. So for those of us in the room who have not yet downloaded the CANTO app, please download the CANTO app. All the bios of our speakers are there, as well as you'll be able to follow up to the time with the itinerary for the day. So any changes in times will be reflected on the app. At this time, we welcome the roundtable discussion, which will be led by Teresa Wankin, our Secretary General of CANTO. And please let me welcome to the stage our roundtable participants, Samir Bhatti, CEO of BTC, Dominic McCartney Russell, Director of Education, Ministry of Education, Technical and Vocational Training, Bahamas, Ricardo Allen, Chief Executive Officer, One-on-One Educational Services, and Britta Reinhardt, Chief Commercial Officer, Consumer Markets, Cable and Wireless Communications. A round of applause, please. Might I ask these strong gentlemen to move the podium?
And welcome to our roundtable on digital sustainability in education. And it was very telling presentation from the Minister. Thank you, Minister, for that wonderful segue into our session. And I will start with asking the Chair's perspective on what the Minister said, especially as it pertains to making sure our skill set is capable of handling the digital revolution and including young people in our roles and strategies. So I would start with Dominique on my, yes.
Pleasant good morning. It's still morning? Yes,
Yes,
good morning. As I reflect on my minister's presentation, what came to mind is the fact that, education is a basic human right, and our children should have access to high quality opportunities. It's not only for us a moral imperative, but it's also important for economic success, for financial stability, for societal well-being. And so we must ensure that students have access to quality opportunities. And in a diverse way, we are all different, and students have different modalities, they learn differently. And so we ought to provide a suite of opportunities, a repertoire of ways our students can learn, not just inside the classroom, but certainly virtually in a blended form that allows them to self-actualize. And so it's quite important.
Great. Samir, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I learn so much from you, Minister, every time I hear you speak, and it's a pleasure to partner with you. I heard loud and clear collaboration and partnership. But as I understand you and I learn more about your vision and your ministry's vision, you have a vision. Yeah. It's a shared vision. And with that vision, when a Hurricane Dorian came, we were in a position to engage. And yes, CNW Foundation helped provide 100,000 grant to One-on-One to get that platform going for those students affected. But you had a vision. Later, as pandemic hit, that vision also served us well in that partner with UNESCO to launch that EMIS platform. But it fit into your overall vision of your BELMS. And I think that's important. With a vision and a shared vision and this notion of collaboration and partnership, you're able to work with partners instead of seeing everything as point solutions. and you're able to be more agile when these issues arise, to pull those partnerships and call on them to fast forward where you want to go. So congratulations for that.
Thank you. Ricardo?
Good morning, everyone. Minister, as I sat there and listened to you, it kind of take me back to how we started. Yesterday I flew up to Miami, and I came from a school in Jamaica. We were just affected by Hurricane Beryl. It was on the southern coast. The name of the school is Monroe. And it was very heartbreaking to go to that school and see no roofs, the classroom, chairs scattered. And it was just heartbreaking to see that this is where students are going to be educated and the state that it was in. And it just took me back when I came to the Bahamas in the Dorian and I saw the state of the country and schools and so on, and how we've kind of worked together to, number one, collect that data. And once we have that data, we looked at all our processes and we use crises as an opportunity to improve permanently. That was quite beautiful. It required vision. And one of the things I've learned, in kind of working with the country of the Bahamas and even Jamaica is that you cannot improve that which you cannot measure. And digitalization of our education system gives us the fundamental ability to manage each and every data point within the education system, giving us the analytics, information, reporting that we can use to improve that system for tomorrow. Minister, you sit at your desk, you're getting your reports, and you're using that reporting to make informed decisions. So, congrats to you. Congrats to the director and all that we're doing, but totally a fan of your vision and committed to continue working with you.
Thank you, Ricardo. Yes.
Yes, so I heard also is it working? I heard also the request to innovate. Digitization means innovation, right? And I would say that in the area of AI, we will come to a point where hopefully we can demystify and democratize the access to content and education. And maybe one day it's not that important anymore in which kind of school physically you are, because you can access content from anywhere if you're connected to the internet, you have a laptop, and you have gone through digital training. And that's where our vision of cable and wireless comes in. We want to really connect, care, and commit. And we want to connect also the unconnected through JUMP. Which the minister showed. We are on our way to do that. But I do hope that one day we can really democratize and demystify the access to educational content. And you can go to school from anywhere, wherever you are.
Well said. And I want to turn to Samir, because BTC, as leaders in innovation and the forefront of digital technology in the Caribbean, can you give us an example of how you're supporting digital sustainability as it relates to reaching all students and not leaving anyone behind?
Yes, and Minister and Britta, you also commented on JUMP. A little bit of context on JUMP. Here we sit in the United States. There's a program called ACP that came to an end at the end of May. And what was ACP? It was $30 discount subsidy from the government for broadband. 2 years ago, in the middle of the pandemic, you would walk into a Walmart and you would see a sign that says free internet. And service providers would have a $30 plan and discounted $30 from the government subsidy, so therefore it's free. Ostensibly, all of the new internet connects in the last 2 years in the United States were off of this program. Now it's come to an end. You know what was missing in that program? To your word on sustainability? Training.
Yeah.
So what we're doing with JUMP, we're partnering with Dell, and the CNW Foundation is going to help with Dell provide laptops. So now we'll have the tools. 2, the training, 8 weeks of digital training, so you know how to use the internet safely, not just for the student, but for the households as well. And I think that's an important piece on sustainability. This program has started last year in Jamaica, St. Lucia, Grenada, and we're going to bring it to the Bahamas. Already it's in trial and it's going very well. I'm really excited about the potential. So that's one piece that I would highlight. I'm really excited about the launch, Minister, this year on JUMP. There's another piece that I was reminded of yesterday by my team, which is in partnership with the government of the Bahamas, we have a Park Connect program. And what is that? That's Wi-Fi in the parks. And you can drive by certain parks and you will see students on their laptops, right? Doing their homework, and it's available free. So there isn't a single solve for what we're going for. United States ACP, 1 in 6 households had the ACP program. 1 in 6, 17%. We know that internet penetration in our region, 35% who are mobile only. So imagine students going to school trying to do a PowerPoint presentation on their mobile phone. That's happening today. That's not gonna get it to where we need to be. So I'm excited to partner with the Ministry of Education and the government on programs like JUMP and Park Connect to move the country forward. It's gonna fast forward our entire society. It's gonna increase our GDP. And I'm excited about this 5,000 plus we're gonna drive the next 2 years with JUMP.
Okay. So I want to turn to Ricardo a little bit. So Ricardo, online education, can you give us some of your challenges? What are you seeing on the ground working with the schools and the ministry?
No, for sure. I want to take you back about 10 years ago when I started this company one-on-one. I was a university graduate, actuarial sciences out of the University of the West Indies, and my focus was on statistics. And I had this vision that somehow I could use data and historical information to kind of predict the future, right? And at the time, I termed it AI and artificial intelligence. Now, that was 10 years probably before ChatGPT and so on, but that was the big idea. And so I created this company called One-on-One to provide personalized, individualized education for all. And I remember when I shared that vision quite early with someone, I said to them, look, my job is to give every child a personal tutor in the world. And they say, why? I said, well, that's the best way you learn, right? Because if I can know what you know, what you don't know, and use that to inform your next phase of learning, that's the most powerful way to impart knowledge on someone. And so that was the idea. Now, since then, we've been faced with many challenges, hurricanes. We've been faced with a lot of those. I remember in 2018, we went to the Eastern Caribbean. Maria and Irma would have devastated those places. And, we started streaming teachers from Jamaica into these spaces, right? And then that prepared us for Dorian in 2020 when, entire island of Grand Bahama and a few others were affected. We started using that knowledge and then we helped them as well. What this taught us is that education is a building block kind of business, right? Where you use historical data and you build on it to inform what you do next. And, for now and for us, how we're using technology, especially online education, is that we're leveraging our own data that we've gathered over the past 10 years to training these large language models. And how we're training these large language models is simply this. If you know about AI and how it works, it's really matrix algebra, right? So it takes an input, applies some matrix to it, some mathematical matrix, and then there's an output. But then there's a little thing called bias, and that bias is usually informed by cultural nuances, how the education system works, that sort of thing. If we continue to allow our education system to rely on extra-regional countries and their large language models with their biases, we're in problems. Big problems. And so the moment is now for us to leverage the data that we've collected, that we continue to collect from the interactions of students, teachers every day, create a centralized curriculum, push that through a large language model, and allow students to interact with it and get personalized learning. Allow teachers to interact with it and develop lesson plans based on our cultural nuances or local syllabi, that sort of thing. That's the opportunity that we have now. So One-on-One created a vision 10 years ago. Today, we are in the best shape possible to accomplish that vision, obviously through our partners and the continued work through the Bahamas and Jamaica.
Okay. So you are in the Bahamas and Jamaica only?
Well, absolutely. So One-on-One is currently in about 12 countries. The most advanced countries are the government of Bahamas and the government of Jamaica. In Jamaica, we're implementing our solution in 100 high schools. I see it's playing in the background there. So you should be seeing it, but we're implementing the solution in 100 schools. And in the government of the Bahamas, we're working with them to implement their EMIS and LMS. But we're working in a number of other countries as well in varying ways, allowing students to learn at their own pace online through the Flow Study program, which is a partnership with Cable and Wireless International.
Excellent,
Thank you.
because Caribbean content is something that we've been talking about and harnessing that content for our region, so that's really good. So I want to turn to Dominic a little bit, and from the government's perspective, what are you guys doing to ensure that all this, not only content, but all this learning is done in a way that it reaches every child, one, and it sensitizes the child to things like online protection, things like biases that Ricardo just talked about, and all the other nuances that comes with the digital revolution?
Well, having experienced Hurricane Dorian, I was actually in Abaco, and we lost, 7 schools, public schools were destroyed. 3 or 4 private schools were destroyed. We discovered that those students who fared well in the virtual platform were those who had skills for independent learning, because they were already used to grouping together. They were already used to the multi-grade class model. And so we developed BEMS, and that allowed us in 2019 really to give access to students in remote areas, as Minister indicated, in some instances 10 students. But we want to ensure that every child has access to those quality opportunities. And so BEMS has allowed us to provide opportunities for children across the archipelago. In that provision, we have a virtual school. It's the Virtual School Bahamas. It's located in New Providence in our capital, but it feeds all of the students across the archipelago. We also have a satellite office in one of our other islands, Grand Bahama. And so those teachers who work in the virtual platform, they give access to quality opportunities for students. And so you have students who were not able to access core curricula are now able to do that. And I think we have accelerated SDG Goal 4 because we have the BEMS program and platform with the partnership of One-on-One, with the partnership of BTC and Cable Bahamas. Now, in terms of ensuring quality opportunities, the majority, at least 99% of our team members, our teachers, have bachelor's degrees, master's, as well as doctorate degrees. And they have also been trained. When we developed the BEMS platform, we provided training. It's ongoing. We have a new restructured Department of Education where we focus on innovation and transformation. And so we are training our teachers so that at the end of the day, they not only know how to use the platform, but they can design programs and lessons. They become a little bit more efficient in their approach. We have more efficient classrooms because of that digital repository. We have a repository of curated digital content, lesson plans, assessment tools for teachers, and they can access that digital repository and get support from expert teachers. We have developing teachers. And so we've seen students grow as a result of the development of our team members and have access to those opportunities. It's very exciting, very exciting. We're also in the process of developing an app, and I told them to call it George. Because we want that app to be able to say to us, you know, where are our students, what are they doing, how many teachers are retiring this year, and what disciplines are they in, and how do we ensure that we attract and retain and train the brightest and the best so that our children have access to those opportunities. So we're really excited about it.
I too am excited about George, and I would like to hear more about it. But tell me about what ages do you start with training young children?
Well, first and foremost, before I say we're training young children, when we talk about human development, we go straight back to prenatal. And so we have a new unit called the Parent Engagement Unit that allows us to provide support for parents, new mothers, as well as parents throughout the child's journey in education. And we would have provided training and information, and we act as a one-stop shop for support for parents. And so we've met with our parents, I think, at least 5 times now, Minister, from a national perspective. And so from prenatal, we're seeking to, what are you giving, are you ensuring that you're eating the right food to ensure that that child develops well in the womb, and so that they, when they come out of that womb, they come ready to learn. But if they don't come ready, we also want to provide training for them as well. So universal access to pre-primary education. We are training our pre-primary students, that's age 3 and 4. And we're also providing access to robotics in primary school. And so access as early as possible, because we've seen our children are digital babies, but we want them not just to know how to access social media. We want them to be able to use the applications, Microsoft, be able to solve complex issues, be able to think critically. And so we're giving them access at an early age from primary education straight up to tertiary education.
Great, and that's why you're training our students like the guy. Yes. Okay, so Bretta, I want you to just give us a perspective on the AI use in education. How is that working out for you, especially in your JUMP program?
Yeah, I think what I would say as well is the technology is already available to us, even though we don't have integrated data models yet, but AI is there. It's there today. I did something yesterday just to prepare for today. I simulated with ChatGPT that I'm a teacher. So I think teachers will need to understand to do prompts, right? These are kind of questions to the ChatGPT or to the system. So I said to the system, I'm a 6th grader teacher, and I would like you to help me to prepare a lesson on climate change. And it took 3 or 5 seconds. And I had a lesson prepared as a teacher, adapted to the 6th graders, with the objectives, the material proposed, the content proposed. It linked me to National Geographic Kids, to NASA Climate Kids. So it takes time away from the teacher to prepare lessons. So it gives time to the teacher to invest into how then the kids collaborate in the classroom, how they use creativity. So it's already there. And then if we can link it to our local data, of course, it becomes more powerful. But what I would say, it's already there. Let's start to use it. Let's start to learn it. Let's start to use it to our advantage. By the way, students can also do prompts. Yeah, so I, again, simulated being a student. So I said, I'm a 9th grader. And I would like you, the ChatGPT, I would like you to help me to create flashcards so I can memorize more the concept on climate change. Again, it took 3 seconds. I had 10 flashcards prepared with questions and answers. It's available today. The only thing we need, and this is where we have to get better, the only thing we need is we need to connect everybody to the internet. We need to equip everybody with a device. And we need to include AI into digital literacy training. And it's available there. So yeah, I think there are a lot of opportunities with the technology at hand. We just need to embrace it.
So we have a wonderful audience, and we have some ministers of government, we have regulators, policymakers, and industry. What would you say is the biggest challenge you see in equipping our region for the digital revolution? What would you say? What do you would like to see from the region?
Yeah, I think it was mentioned a couple of times already. It's all about collaboration. It's about speaking the same language. It's about understanding technology and how it can be used in this environment for our schools, our kids, our educational system. It's just about coming together. We have all the means. If we come together, we collaborate, we can make it happen.
Excellent. How about you, Ricardo?
You know, when I reflect, in 2012, we had a Hurricane Sandy, and it cost the government roughly about $60 million US to replace all the schools who were damaged from Hurricane Sandy. By initial estimates, burial having affected Jamaica is going to cost at least twice that. I'm estimating about $50 million US. That is roughly, right now, roughly about 4 or 5% of our education budget annually. And the question is, where are we going to get that money from, and where are we going to get it urgently? You see, what has happened to us is that in many ways, we've seen education as an expense. Annually, we spend just to keep it the same. However, we spend on roads because we want better roads to improve transportations, right? We spend on technology and equipment and fiber optic cables to ensure connectivity, yes? But education is much more difficult to convince a government to spend on. Why? Because you spend it today and 18 years from now, that's when you get the benefit. When a child is in grade 1, when they graduate and start producing, that's when they start to help the GDP. So how do we as regional governments invest today knowing that 18 years down the line we're going to get it? I am challenging you to consider education as infrastructure and not expense. Because that infrastructure is what is going to be our currency. That infrastructure investment that we make today is going to change our economies 20 years from now. That infrastructure investment that we make today will ensure that every child will be contributing to our productive capacity when they become a young adult and so on. So I challenge you today, if there's one thing I want you to leave with, is that we must see education differently.
Yeah, that's an
Thank you,
investment.
thank you.
Well done.
Samir? Yes.
So one of the things I learned today is that digital literacy is literacy. And I think I know we're at the point where we have platforms that enable that. I know we're at the point where we need laptops in the classrooms as well. What we need to be thinking about is the resiliency of this digital literacy. How might we make it more resilient? How is it a part of our swim lanes for hurricane preparedness, right? Backup, recovery, redundancy. To me, that's where my head's at. Of course, we're going to keep getting better with our platforms. Of course, we're going to provide devices to schools. Of course, we're going to provide the training. Now, let's get ready to have resiliency from the first. Not once it's there, but as we think about it. Just as Mike said, hey, we should be thinking about putting those fiber cables on, bury them. The same way, resiliency for education, digital literacy, we must contemplate from the first.
The biggest challenge that I've seen over the years, particularly as it relates to financing education and providing for the resources, is the need for us to have devices that evolve. When the technology evolves, the devices need to evolve. And I'll give you a good example. After Hurricane Dorian, we got strategic partners to provide devices for our children. But in 3 years, they became obsolete, because the technology is advanced, but the devices could not keep up. And so I am excited about the opportunity for us to have equipment, resources that evolve with the times. As the technology changes, the equipment changes. And we talk about innovative financing. It must allow for access to those resources at the drop of a hat. When there's an emergency, we need to have the access to those. Solar chargers. I can recall not just devices and solar chargers, but the internet capabilities when there is no power. There was no power in Abaco and Grand Bahama for a while, and so we had access to the little MiFi boxes, and I think $102,000 worth of data plans for those students to have access to education. And so for me, the challenge is ensuring that our equipment that we use for those classrooms, that they evolve as technology evolves.
Great.
Can I just add? Sorry. No,
Yes, I'll start with you.
I just wanted to add something to what Ricardo could say, and I couldn't agree more, but I also believe that some of the things we are doing have an immediate impact. We just looked at the first results of JUMP and what it creates to families, and the grades of the kids increase, the social well-being is higher, kids are at home, the family bonds are better. I do believe what we do already has impact, but we should invest more. We should invest more.
Yes.
Invest.
Okay.
No, Britta, you're absolutely right. Again, it's about doing now what we can. as you rightly said, and investing for tomorrow. My thoughts are, you know, education is expensive, but if we think of it as an expense, as I mentioned to you, you use the word expensive, but if you use investment, it's good returns, right? And so in the same way, I think you catch a flu, you have a medical card that you go to the doctor to get help. I think we need to start looking at some resiliency fund where we put in monies today, and then when we need it, let's say there's a catastrophe, we can pull down on it. Jamaica, for example, has a catastrophe fund if, for example, something happens nationally. But I think something more aligned with education is something here. For one-on-one, we continue to work across the Caribbean. We're very passionate about education with the region. We love our people, and we want to stay here and solve our problems. We can't expect the extra-regional countries to come and solve our problems because we know it best.
Yes. Samir, quickly, and then Dominic.
I just add, I mean, 23,000 monthly active users on our platform, right?
Wow.
I mean, 2,500 plus teachers on it. That's steady state, that's BAU. That can't stop. So just to your point on resiliency from the first, I mean, that's a part of our fabric right now. We're not going backwards. We need to plan for resiliency.
Final thoughts, I think we also need to, I know Europe and UNESCO have developed digital competencies for teachers and students. In the region, we need to have our own digital competency framework with not 18 and 20 goals. You know, our teachers are tired, and so we need to keep them very strategic, very succinct, but that allows our teachers to not only learn platforms, but allows them to create, to innovate, you know, and use generative AI for students in the classroom. And so if we create that framework, it allows for the development of our human capacity and, of course, to expand their knowledge and expand their capabilities so that they could provide access to opportunities for our children so that we could realize excellence for every child in every classroom, in every school.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being a very good audience. Two key things: collaboration and investment for education. Thank you very much.